right to tell what they do not want to hear. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Tired of the same repetitive government narratives? Then wave goodbye to the distractions and rhetoric of corporate media. For this is Anti-Media Radio.
But I want to get the language right.
The government is in trouble.
You're all a bunch of slaves! Bunch of slaves!
What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
What's your definition of media?
And now, here's your host, S.M. Gibson.
My name is S.M. Gibson. It is February the 14th, Valentine's Day of 2017. You are listening to Anti-Media Radio, coming to you live and direct from San Diego, California. There is a lot going on in the world. I don't think I have to tell you that. I don't even know where to begin. We have Mike Flynn that is no longer a part of the Trump administration, which is, of course, big news. We've just seen 12 TSA agents indicted for smuggling $100 million worth of cocaine. Before we get really cranked up tonight, I want to go ahead and bring on our lovely and wonderful co-host, Mr. Shannon Madden. Shannon, what is up?
Lovely. I like that. That was very nice. You need to go out to California more often.
Doing my best here. And for those that aren't aware, the main reason that I am in California right now is we have redone, remastered, and retooled the antimedia.org website to provide more information to the masses. We would sometimes average between 5 to 10 stories a day on the old version of the anti-media website. Yesterday, we had over 70 stories go up, and today we're right around the same number. And it's because our goal is to provide people with as much information as possible that does not come from corporate media, does not come from the mainstream mouth and the propaganda that is spewed constantly from every single direction. I'm very proud to be a part of this, but at the same time, it's not really something that I can say is mine, or it's everybody's, and that's kind of what we're trying to do here. We have of course, a section up. We have the Our News, Their News, and My News sections, and My News is for anybody out there that wants to go submit an article to the anti-media, whether you wrote it, you didn't write it, it doesn't matter, just some kind of piece of news you came across and you think people should know about it. Come on over to antimedia.org and you can throw it in, and you can see it right on the front page of the antimedia.org. So this is what we're trying to do, is to encourage everybody to be involved and to get informed. Shannon, I hadn't seen you in a minute since the new page went up. What's your overall thoughts of what we've got going on here for everybody?
Oh man, it's simply amazing. It really is. The difference is night and day. Very user friendly, and encourage everybody to go register when you get on there. The news comes at you either in your notifications. You can set your notifications to get them when you want to, or you can catch the news as it happens. I love it. It's a game changer for me.
Yeah, and the goal here is to be an avenue for people to revisit multiple times a day, to keep getting stories updated throughout the day. So, if you check the website at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning, come back at 2 and 3, we're going to have completely different stories, completely different headline, because that's the world we live in. The news is running that fast, and I think to adapt to as crazy as the world's going, we have to have an avenue and a platform for people to get all that information in real time. So hopefully, with everybody working together, this is going to be a project that benefits people.
Absolutely. And again, can't stress this enough. This is the perfect alternative to the mainstream narrative. This is not government sponsored. And yes, it's not Russian sponsored either.
No, it's not anybody sponsored. I promise.
Still waiting to get my check for that one.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. If you really want the truth, this is a great place to start. And can't stress that enough. Kudos, guys. Y'all did a great job.
And, we're about building community. We want everybody out there listening to be a part of this community. I mean, this is the homepage of independent media. And what independent media is, it's you. It's you out there listening that's tired of the narrative, that's tired of being lied to, and the garbage that you hear on CNN all day. This is an opportunity for us to work together to actually become informed. And once you become informed, then you can start making changes in a positive direction. But as long as if people want to change things, but they're not informed, then you're not going to get the right changes. You're just going to keep making the same mistakes over and over and over. And that's what we've seen through, whether it's Bush or Obama and now Trump. We've seen the same thing over and over and over. Maybe there's a little bit of differences, but it's not too much. It's just kind of the edges of some of these administrations are different, but people react differently to them, but that's because they're not informed. And that's what the goal is here, is for everybody to be on the same page and to be informed, and not to have it as we're telling you this is what it is. This is why we have the My News section. We want this to be a community. We want everybody to come together. And we also have Their News, which is featuring multiple websites, independent news, very important, not corporate CNN, or MSNBC, or Fox News. This is other alternative media outlets and the news that's going on around there, and then plus still the stories that are going up on the antimedia.org. It's going to be a collective. And this is how we make progress, and this is how we make change. So, Shannon, where do we even begin with the insanity of...
Well, it seems that the house of cards that Trump has started building is collapsing as quickly as he can build it. We already have a very high-profile resignation. Of course, we've already seen some stepping down of the old guard as soon as he walked in the door. But now, I mean, and this one's sticky too. The latest, which is Mr. Flynn. There's chitter chatter now about the FBI's investigating possible criminal investigation. There's other narratives saying, no, there's no criminal act whatsoever. All we know is that he's up and gone, and we're left with, well, what are we left with?
It's playing out like an episode of The Apprentice almost, except for the giant "you're fired." We're getting hand in your resignation letter, but the outcome's the same. Of course, Sean Spicer came out today in his news conference and said that it was because that they felt that the trust had broken down between Trump and Flynn, and they didn't think they could trust him anymore, and it was no deeper than that, that it wasn't necessarily anything that he had done wrong or nefarious or illegal, but they could not trust him, so he had to go. There is also the side of the argument that he was ran out by the powers that be, aka the military-industrial complex, didn't want his input moving forward because this is going to be business as usual, and they felt that he was somebody that was actually going to try to do the right thing, so they had to get rid of him. I don't know. I don't think at this point we can rule out either one. We know for a fact that if, and we won't know now, but if he was somebody that was going to come in and try to do the right thing, of course, the powers that be in the establishment are going to do everything they can to get rid of him. It's just kind of where we're at. I mean, this is the world we're living in now. It's total chaos. How many times have I said it, Shannon? It's the post-satire era, and it's craziness from one day to the next.
Yeah, I really don't know where this is going to stop. I don't know when it's going to end as far as because how many times can we keep reloading and restaffing people that are leaving the Trump administration in droves? And that's just the people that are leaving of their own volition. There's going to be plenty of you're fired throughout this whole administration. I think that kind of goes without saying.
But I think it's important to say who has Trump's ear. You've got Priebus, who I don't think a lot of people trust from one end, and you have Bannon, who people are terrified of.
I don't know that Bannon's going to be there too terribly long.
I don't know about that.
I think public opinion is finally going to win over in that, and public opinion, with the exception of the 25% of Americans that actually voted for Trump, there's not too many other folks love Steve Bannon, even within the Republican Party.
No, you're certainly correct about that, but I kind of feel that is an anchor that Trump is willing to hang on to and possibly go down with the ship, because it's not like, at least with Bannon, you can say, as opposed to a lot of these other people, Betsy DeVos in the Department of Education, she's another one, but it's somebody from day one out of the gate. They're just like, whoa, what are you doing here? And they were ready to pounce immediately. So he knows people's opinions on this, and certainly one thing you can say for Trump is he is his own man, and he's not going to do what the media is sitting there telling him to do. He's going to do the exact opposite just to get under their skin, if nothing else, because it seems like so far we're a little over a month in. That's how he's going to work.
Yep, you're right.
I want to kind of, since it's our first big week here with the new website, run through a little bit of, we've got the Our News, Their News, and My News, and why this is so, I think it changes the narrative because it's offering so many different viewpoints. And I want to kind of touch on a little from each column here, and how one person may have something to say versus the other, and yet, we're all able to express what's going on. That's, we talk about that with Trump. Not everything Trump does is evil and horrible the way some people make it sound, but at the same time, there's been a lot of bad too. I don't understand, before we talk about the website a little bit more, Shannon, we've just seen that the UN came out and confirmed that at least 18 civilians were killed in U.S. airstrikes in Afghanistan. The initial report was that it was 22. The United Nations is confirming that it was at least 18 for sure. Women and children were definitely included in this. And, of course, no big deal. Nobody's talking about it. The left's not talking about it. even though they want to complain about everything with Trump, they're not talking about what they need to be talking about with him. That's a huge issue. And that's why I kind of started the show off with, start the show off. I mean, it's everyday life, and we talked about on every episode for the past year. It's one administration to the next, and at the end of the day, the core values don't change. So I don't know. It's really frustrating to see that we're not seeing people speak out about this. But I want to hit on this. This is from the Our News section, which is directly from the antimedia.org. We've got at least 18 people killed, or civilians, overwhelmingly women and children. Why do you think, Shannon, that they're not ramming this down people's throats? They're not saying, whoa, what are you doing?
Well, first off, Trump automatically out of the gate gets to say, well, we're being tough on terror. Now it's unfortunate that civilians are killed, and then of course we'll go back and look over at how many civilians died in drone bombings and campaigns during the Obama administration, and go ahead and distraction. We've said it numerous times. What we're witnessing is the beginning and really the culmination of all the Patriot Acts and Freedom Acts and all the different little languages here and there sprinkled throughout these little acts and new laws and new executive orders and so on and so forth. The power that we have given not only, the United States government, but the president himself. The president himself enjoys way more freedoms and way more powers than any president that preceded him, I would think. Now, that doesn't mean that he gets to run rampant and do exactly what he wants. I mean, we've already seen that with the travel ban that got held up in court. We'll see you in court again after we've lost and gone all the way up the ladder. So I don't know where Trump plans to go with the travel ban, or they're going to take it back to the drawing board and rework it. I don't know.
Well, the rumor is there's going to be another executive order coming up that kind of tries to make its way around.
Yes. It'll be an executive order to completely get rid of the Supreme Court, more than likely. And it'll be written in Trump's own handwriting.
That would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
That really would be.
Oh.
Yeah.
And this is why it's so important. I want to say this is why it's so important. And we see the attacks on every side, whether you're on the left, whether you're on the right. Everybody has these. It has to be this way. It's like it's my football team that I support. It's something that you're emotionally attached to, yet there's no intellectual attachment to it. There's no moral attachment to it.
And that's the huge problem right there, because meanwhile, as everybody's sitting there arguing about their teams winning or their teams losing or so on and so forth, 18 civilians are dead by our hands, by taxpayer money. Taxpayer money killed 18 civilians.
Sure, and this is what, a week
That's
or two
sick.
after we had the other bombing in Yemen with a bunch of women and children and a pregnant woman being killed, and all civilians. And of course, we saw this repeatedly under the Obama administration. And this is why we have what we have today, because everybody stayed quiet and didn't say a word for 8 years. Of course, a handful of people did, but not enough to raise eyebrows. And people would say, oh, you're crazy, you're wrong, he's great and wonderful. Unfortunately, when Barack Obama is when Congress takes a part of the National Defense Authorization Act and they slip in this little, oh, don't worry about that, where you can detain American citizens, and everybody that does hear about it, which most people didn't, but when they do, they go, but look, he would never do anything wrong. Obama would never use that. So what? Big deal. And now look what we have. This is what people don't understand. You have to keep the powers that be in check because they are there to represent you. They're
not the other way around.
It's not the other way around. So don't sit here and make excuses for people because it's your team. That's insane. We're not talking about Jim Harbaugh paying a player to go to school here. We're talking about something that people get killed over. Innocent civilians die, and you're just like, well, but it was my team, so he must have had a good reason for it. And then you get the other side when it's not your team, whether it's Barack Obama and the way that the right went after him for some crazy stuff, and the way the left are going after Trump right now for some crazy stuff. It's like everybody needs to get focused, live in the real world, learn about what's actually going on in the world, and then criticize based on that. But when it's just pure emotion spewing out, you're making no sense, you're accomplishing nothing. And so, protest all day long, but if you don't have a mission statement, if you don't have a legitimate mission statement, if you don't have a legitimate call to action, you're not doing anything. There was a picture going around social media the past couple of days. Like 1,000 people went out to this beach and spelled out the word resist so Donald Trump would get the message. What do you think is going to happen? Oh, we went out and spelled resist on the beach. Donald Trump's going to resign now? Who cares? I get it. That's great. That 1,000 people need to come together and go, did you hear what happened with our tax dollars? Did you hear about the innocent civilians that died? Those 1,000 people should all pick up the phone. They need to call the representatives and say, look, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to get reelected. You're not going to be in power anymore. You're going to go back to doing whatever because we know these people are power hungry. They want to hang on to the jobs they have. Call the White House, these 1,000 people, and say, look, we're not going to stand for this. This ain't going to happen anymore. But no, they'd rather go out and make some kind of name for themselves on social media. If you want to use social media to make a change, please do. But do it in the right direction. Don't just do it because you think you know better. This isn't about who knows better and who doesn't know better. This is about doing what's right. And it's within all of us to know. But we get too blinded and our vision's too clouded by it's our team. It's our team. It's going to be okay. We are waking up from that a little bit. I mean, we saw it with Trump supporters to a degree. We saw it with Bernie supporters to a degree. I mean, both of those candidates, for whatever we're seeing today with Trump, they definitely brought in a collective of people that were frustrated. But it's the cycle, isn't it, Shannon? It's the cycle of people are frustrated. They vote for what they believe is change. No change happens. They defend what they call change, but it's not. And it's the continuous cycle. I mean, we just saw it in 2008. Everybody hated George Bush. Everybody was tired of the Republicans. Everybody was tired of war. We're not going to have John McCain in this country. We have a chance to make history. We have this young, just great politician, which he did turn out to be. Politician is the key.
He was smooth. No two ways around about it.
Politician.
He was able to make bombing
Go ahead,
7 countries. Well, I was just going to say he made bombing 7 countries extremely palatable, even for the anti-war left. He shut them the hell up.
Sure, and he got a little medal.
Who else has been able to shut up that anti-war left for decades and decades now? And suddenly nothing. And we go on a massive bombing campaign all over the Middle East and throughout other portions of the world, and nothing, zero, zip. No, it's freedom. Don't worry about it, America.
Yeah, don't worry about it. They're all bad, terrible people. And then, at the same time, we are seeing, which we saw a story the other day where there was a lady in, was it Tucson, Arizona? There was a lady in Arizona. I think I'm wrong. I think I'm confusing it with another story. But the lady that got deported, and she was a mother. She had been here for most of her life. And it becomes this huge spectacle, which I'm okay with. But what I'm not okay with is, why do you care today when you didn't care for the fact that Barack Obama deported 3 million people. And that's maybe it's on me, Shannon. Maybe it's on me. Maybe it's my fault. Maybe I'm the one that's confused. But why was it okay if you're going to believe in something and that's going to be the values you believe in, why weren't you upset when Barack Obama deported 3 million people, but Trump starts deporting people and you're ready to protest? To me, that's not having values. That's not believing in something. It's believing in your team, and you're going to put on the team colors and go down to the stadium and cheer. That's what I see. And that's why the left-right paradigm is the absolute dumbest, worst thing in this country. First off, it makes people on both sides feel like they're so superior to the other side. I can't believe they think that. How many people have lost friendships? How many people have, with family members, gotten in fights with family members over the past year because of this election and with Trump? It's insane. And then on top of it, we have social media, which clearly has exacerbated this problem times 1,000,000, because people, for whatever reason, they have the mask of being online, and they say whatever they want to say, stuff they would never say to people, but they're, behind their keyboard, and they've had, a few beers or maybe whatever their situation. And this is how I feel. I can't believe this. And it just goes off because somebody sees it, your uncle sees it, who's like, I can't believe that person believes that. I just never would have guessed. And it's got everybody at each other's throats. And the craziest part is this feeds into what the establishment wants. The more division around the country, the more division around the world, the better it is to be controlled by a smaller group of people. But nobody sees it. If you're fighting amongst yourselves, you can't be fighting against the people that are really doing the wrong things. The people that are really screwing people, hurting people.
The people that are pushing these wars over in the Middle East that are killing, 18, 20, 30, 50, 100, 200 civilians, people that have nothing to do with any war, that have no ill intention or ill will toward anybody, normal people like you and me that are just going about their daily lives, and bam, they get blown out of nowhere. And then the people that witness it get very, very upset, as we would if we were in our neighborhood. Think about you're in your house, you're in your yard, dogs playing in the yard, you're out cutting the grass, and suddenly a missile comes, and the missile blows your neighbor's house and kills your whole neighbor's family. And actually, the explosion is so great that it actually kills or messes up a few houses and leaves some people without homes in the adjacent area. Yeah, you're going to see that, and then you're going to see somebody's flag sitting on the end of the what's left of the missile, and you're going to get very upset at that flag, extremely upset. So much so that, let's say, a band of rebels comes through and says, you know what, we absolutely hate the people on that flag. Why don't you get in our truck with us, grab a gun, and join up? That's how ISIS recruits, my friend. Well, we talk about it day in and day out and day in and day out, and not a damn thing is being done about it because everybody is so caught up in the football game. And what's going on over in the Middle East, that's so far away from here that ain't got nothing to do with us. It's
they're bad people.
And a bunch of brown people. There are a bunch of brown people that tried to kill us in the 9/11 attack, and yeah, because remember how many people from Yemen were in that attack,
right?
As well, or Syria for that matter. I just, I'm over this. I've been over it, and it's funny you were talking about the whole Trump divide and families fighting and so on and so forth. I was thinking about Thanksgiving at my parents' house this year. And of course, Trump had won the election, and all the Trump supporters were high-fiving one another. And of course, I have a fair amount of Republicans in my family, straight-ticket Republicans that have voted Republican, gosh, ever since I can remember, since Reagan. And they had started talking about something, and I heard it out of the corner of my ear. Now, bear in mind, I do not identify as any political party whatsoever. I don't participate in the voting process, taxation and stuff, yada yada. So, and they know my views on this, and we've had political conversations, and they don't really like how they turn out because, again, I'll state whatever fact I have to, and then just sit and kind of let them say what they're going to say or navigate through. And a lot of them wind up asking questions when it's all said and done. Nope, Trump's won. So when the conversation started and I kind of perked my ears up, somebody kind of looked over and poked somebody else. And I don't know, it's probably about 5 or 6 of them immediately kind of went into the other room like they were having a secret conversation or whatever. Thought it was hilarious, man. And again, that's what we're reduced to now, because now it's got to the point where people of dissenting views can't even have a simple conversation about politics anymore.
No, and everybody thinks
have you noticed that?
Oh, of course. And here's the thing: everyone thinks they are either morally or intellectually superior than the next person, and because of that, they can't have an open conversation. First off, the views and beliefs that people have, and it's not just that, it's that they hold on to them. So this is a fact. This is the truth. How dare you think anything differently? For instance, Russia, WikiLeaks, Trump. You've got the left. It's just, they're 1,000% convinced that Russia and WikiLeaks were somehow there was collusion. There's no evidence of that. There's zero evidence of that. But you can't tell that to somebody from the left, and you can't tell it to somebody that just completely despises Trump, that think it was this big setup, that, and you're getting it again. We're seeing the New York Times right before we came on air tonight. They're running a story saying that Trump aides were talking to people from Russia during the campaign. Is that true? I honestly don't know, but I know what narrative have we seen over and over and over and over. And there's been no proof this entire time. And they just keep throwing something, hoping it will stick. We get it. You don't like Donald Trump. I understand. If you don't like Donald Trump, then guess what? Attack what you don't like policy-wise. But these childish run around, well, he must have, or this must have, or let's see his birth certificate, or let's see his tax returns, or that's blah, blah, blah. From one administration to the next. It's childish. You sound like idiots. People don't think that. They don't see how stupid they sound, but they do. Talk about the facts. Stop. And here's what's so funny. And we see it because it's ran on corporate media, and it's because it's in the New York Times or on CNN or Fox News, whatever it is. Well, it was on CNN. It's not a conspiracy. What's on your page is a conspiracy. No, there's facts to back up the information we provide. At least, that's what we try to do. And yet, because it was on corporate media, well, that's their judge of conspiracy. Was it on TV? Because if it was on TV, then it's okay. That's true, because they wouldn't put it on TV if it wasn't true. And that's how people judge if something's real or not, because they had to go on TV say it. And the stuff that they're saying is the most conspiratorial nut job stuff in the world. There's no facts to back half this stuff up, pro or con, for most of these politicians. It's a big game of propaganda. And we can go down the list all night long on that one. But you can't tell people that at all. You can't have that conversation with people. They're too emotionally involved. I don't know. What's your take on it, Shannon?
Well, I gotta ask.
You there? Did we lose you? It's possible we did. But I tell you what, here's the thing. I can't tell if we lost you or not, Shannon. I'm going to see if we can pull the volume back up here on you. But what we're talking about is the complete nonsensical division in this country, because everybody, first off, nobody wants to listen. Everybody wants to tell. And when you hear something that doesn't agree with what your predetermined, and I can't say values, but this is what you believe because this is what you were told because it's against the person you don't like. So it must be true because you don't like that person and there's a story out about that person you don't like. So it must be true. Nobody does any of the research for themselves. Nobody looks into the facts of anything. It's just all this predetermined bogus garbage that people convince themselves of. And we saw it over and over with Barack Obama and some of the attacks that you saw on Barack Obama. I mean, think about the right and Barack Obama is, he's from Kenya and he's gonna overthrow the country in the name of Muslims and we're all gonna be in FEMA camps. And like, to the people on the left, that sounded really crazy, and for good reason, I guess, because that's you're really reaching there because clearly your team's not winning, so you're going to say and believe anything because you want your team to win, obviously. And now we're seeing the exact same thing with Donald Trump. While nobody's paying attention to what's actually going on in the world. We cannot stand for a foreign policy that does not represent the interest of not only the United States, which our foreign policy does not represent whatsoever, but it doesn't represent the interest of humanity, because we see innocent people, and it is excused that they are maimed, injured, or killed. And one thing people don't realize as a result of these bombings and these wars and these interventions, because we're going to deliver freedom to somebody, people don't see that most of these casualties, it's not a direct result of bombs. It's a result of people die and suffer because of disease. They die and suffer because of famine. We don't hear that when they report these casualties. We talk about, well, at least, the United Nations is admitting, well, at least 18 people were killed in Afghanistan by U.S. airstrikes. But what they don't report are the hundreds of thousands of people, the millions of people that have suffered around the Middle East since 2001. And of course, you're going to get people stand up and go, well, what are they doing to us over here? What are they doing to us over here? Yeah, what? Tell me. You're going to say San Bernardino. I know that's what people go to. That was a terrible, terrible, terrible thing that should not have happened. But we also, whether it's the situation we had in Orlando or San Bernardino, that doesn't excuse or justify going and blowing apart the Middle East. Just whatsoever, it doesn't excuse it. But yet it has excused it in so many people's minds. I tell you what, just joining me in the studio now, I'm going to bring on from last night Mr. Amir, and we have Carrie Wedler as well. Hi, guys. How are y'all doing?
What's up, man? Good to see you. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Perfect timing.
A pleasure to be spending with you,
Yeah, we just, we lost Shannon on the feed here somehow, so it's just been me running my mouth and rambling here. So, I guess before we go on a little bit, first off, we were going over the page, and you, Amir, because Carrie's more involved in it, and she works on it day to day and sees it. The good, the bad, the ugly. Where do you see how this page can make a difference? Because as I was talking about before, this isn't the anti-media. It's not us. This is a page for everybody. This is a page for everybody to get involved. This is for everybody to have information, to share how they think and how they feel. So how do you think this can change things and the good of it, the bad of it? What's your overall view?
Well, first of all, I've been following anti-media since before Carrie was even there.
Ooh,
so,
burn!
You know, it's like I've seen the. So I've seen the.
We got infighting over here.
I was like, I remember when you got the job with them. But I've seen the anti-media grow over these last few years immensely, to the point where a few years ago you were just essentially some Facebook page that was making memes, putting out some news stories here and there, and now in only a few years' time, you are a legitimate media organization that is competing with some of the biggest names in the media, whether it be mainstream media or any of the independent media. And another thing that I've seen from anti-media is, and what we don't really get from other media companies that I've noticed, is journalistic integrity and intellectual honesty. Constantly, I see the individuals who are running the show at Anti-Media focusing on being as accurate and as honest as they can be.
And that doesn't mean we always get it right either.
But that's not the important part.
But
Nobody
we do
always
issue
gets
a correction when we are informed or learn ourselves that we did make a mistake.
Nobody always gets it right because nobody's perfect. And exactly, when you guys do mess up, which every human does every once in a while, you are as honest as possible about that. And going from there, from what you have now, essentially it was just a ragtag Facebook page, and now you've created a whole social media platform on your website, on the antimedia.org. And essentially what it does is it takes away from the big dependence that individuals have on the big social media companies, Facebook, Google, because I usually have to go on Facebook to get my news. And because I'm looking for news from different sources. But now, and I would have to go on the Anti-Media Facebook page usually to get that news. But then that news was jumbled up with a bunch of other stuff and, memes and here. So now I can go to the Anti-Media's actual website, and I have everything that I wanted from Facebook taken, it's brought to the Anti-Media, and all the displeasurable things that Facebook and these other social media companies bring are essentially removed. So
Pepe memes. You're talking about Pepe memes, but go ahead.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with those either, But now we have this. I look at the website, the webpage, the layout, and I'm wowed by it, because essentially what I see is a news organization, and I see a social media platform. I see something that is making it so that people can share news even if they're not part of the company. So this is decentralization right here. Like when I see their news, my news, submit an article right here, that's decentralized journalism, essentially. It's any person can go on there and say, I have a really cool story and I want these people to hear about it. And now, for the first time, really, you have this connection between the people who are running the show and the people who are reading your articles. And with media, I haven't seen something like this before. So I think this new anti-media platform is absolutely revolutionary. I think that you'll see other media companies jocking on your style in the near future. And I'm really excited to see where this platform with anti-media goes, because it's essentially keeping you independent from the big social media companies who are essentially just wings of the government at this point.
Oh, certainly.
So
yeah.
Anti-media is not. So.
No. Do you think there will be the day? Let's just say hypothetically that there's some success with this, because people can be involved. And look at the success that we've seen with a Reddit. Look at what we've seen with Facebook, because it is social media, and you can put any article you've seen for everybody to see it. This is taking that to just information and news, but. Do you think we'll ever see the day where CNN's doing this? I don't, because I feel like that takes the control out of their hands. And one thing that they are about is complete control of information. I mean, look at the way, for whatever, look, we can have the conversation about Donald Trump all night long. Before Donald Trump, do you ever remember there being headlines under the guest talking or whatever topic they're talking about? It says Trump says, and then parentheses, that's a made up lie.
No.
And of course, the argument's going to be, well, Trump's lying. Yeah, Trump's the first politician to ever lie. Yeah. That's it. All the politicians were honest before Donald Trump.
About the CNN questions, no, absolutely not, because the way that they structure those organizations are completely opposite to what you guys are doing. So it's essentially based off of my mindset's always in the business world, so I'm always thinking about structures of company, corporate structures, how people set up their corporate structures. And with anti-media, the difference between people like CNN, MSNBC, the centralized news agencies, is that you guys are essentially decentralized for the most part. Your journalists have free reign to do what they want for the most part. The way that journalists do things with you guys, they bring up articles and they're like, hey, I want to write about this. And then you go okay, that's cool. That sounds like a cool article. Let's do it. You try to do that at a local Fox affiliate.
Well, I think I will say this to play devil's advocate on this. I think you can get away with that a little bit more on local affiliates, because I think you do see stories bleeding through that are more honest on something. Look at Ben Swan. Technically, he's a local Atlanta guy now. And so I think locals, it kind of bleeds through more because there's so many of them and it's hard to keep track from the corporate angle. But they're big, the big MSNBC, the CBS News that's going out nightly across the world, they're going to control every bit of that.
Well, let me play devil's advocate back to you on that. My sister works in local news, and she's a reporter, and she works for a Fox affiliate. And
oh, my God, that harlot.
Yeah. She always goes, she's like, I don't work for Fox News. I'm like, you work for a Fox affiliate. Everybody thinks you work for Fox News.
Oh, God. She works for the devil.
But the thing with Ben Swan and some of the local affiliates, it's like, what happened with Ben Swan? His company told him you cannot. He took the social media down. He took his social media account down because the company was saying you can't keep doing this anymore. I think
it's CBS. I could be way off. I think it's like CBS 46. But to their credit, we can sit here and attack them. They let him say that on TV.
And you know what? Where is he?
Yeah, now where is he? Except nobody even knows where Ben Swan is right now.
But when he was in Ohio, he was getting away with saying that stuff. That's how he built his following.
Yeah. And you know what? There are some local affiliates.
It wasn't like this was the first time he ever went on TV and said the truth. He had been doing this over, and he just went to the wrong topic.
But generally speaking, my sister doesn't get to go to her boss and bring up some really cool story she heard about, and then they're going to okay it. They're going to be like, well, these are the stories we have for you. And it comes down to the fact that what I was saying is the corporate structures are different. Local Fox, their corporate structure is just a smaller version of how national Fox News works. They're all controlled. It's centralized. There's a main boss. They tell you what to do, what you can write, the narrative that you can say and can't say. And if you deviate from that narrative too much, you're probably going to lose your job. So it works very similar to any government job, really.
No, not probably. You will definitely lose your job in that setting. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just want to add, to bring it full circle, because Scott asked, will CNN ever do something like this? And my answer is no. And my reasoning is that their bottom line is not the truth. At the end of the day, CNN is owned by Time Warner Cable, which is heavily invested in the political system. We're not. Yep. And we have all been on our own journey towards truth, and that's a very subjective word, so make what you will of it. But I don't see CNN making their top priority really bringing stories to people and listening to their journalists and bringing together and collaborating with a bunch of other corporate news sources. Like, I just don't see that happening because they want to promote their own brand. And what anti-media is doing, what Nick and Scott have brilliantly done, is decide that they want to lift up other independent news pages and help us work together. And I think that collaborative spirit is totally lacking in the mainstream media outside of pushing a unified agenda.
Well, that's where the collaboration happens, is they can collaborate in judging you and telling you you're wrong and you have to believe this way or else.
Yeah, like there's that clip of Chuck Todd like trying to force Donald Trump to admit that the United States is morally superior to Russia, and he's just like, and Chuck Todd like won't let it go. And like clearly, Chuck Todd was someone who was taking notes from Debbie Wasserman during the primary, so like we know where his loyalties lie, and we can see it manifested in the coverage they're putting out.
And look, Shannon, we spent the first 30 minutes of this show talking about the negative stuff about Trump, but let me tell you something. When Donald Trump was asked if he respected Vladimir Putin, and he said, yeah. And he was like, yeah, but he's a killer. And he goes, yeah, so you think the United States is so innocent?
Yeah.
I did about 15 fist pumps and almost went through the wall. That was so amazing. It's like, how long?
That was a good one, yeah.
Yeah, how long have I waited to hear a human being say those words? Yeah, so you think the United States is so innocent.
And meanwhile, contrast that with Barack Obama, who during his presidency was speaking out against JASTA, which was the accountability for 9/11 victims' families. And his reasoning for not supporting the bill was that, well, we might get sued for all the crap we've done around the world.
In fairness to Barack on that one, he had a point.
Good looking out for the nation and the homeland, I guess.
He had a point. Did you hear? I heard that they were going to try to use that to like sue. Somebody's going to try to sue somebody that had nothing to do with 9/11. Sue Israel, I think. So
Yemen, yeah.
Well, look at what they've done to the West Bank and the Gaza. So I don't know. It's all just so stupid and ridiculous. I'm so over it. I'm so tired of it all.
Can we talk about wrestling now?
Yes. We
Yes.
can't talk about literally anything else.
I know it. I thought we were going to open the show with a Chris Jericho match, but whatever.
Speaking of wrestling, Linda McMahon was approved today and is now a member. And is now officially a member of the Donald Trump cabinet and is a part of the administration.
Wow.
That has become the world wrestling entertainment.
It is. Oh, of course it has. Look, wrestling in America have always been the same thing. There was just the guy that came along and realized it was the same thing.
Yeah.
Hey, Gibson, quick question. What WWE Hall of Famer is currently the president of the United States right now?
Exactly.
I personally cannot think of a better way for the American Empire to come crashing down. Like, I couldn't have dreamed up a more theatrical conclusion. And it's just
right up against a turnbuckle, baby.
I could have dreamed up a more theatrical.
You could have, yeah. I believe you. I couldn't have.
We could look. I've already stated tonight. I want Lindsay Lohan to become Secretary of State. So that's my endorsement.
She might be better than Tillerson. To be real.
Possibly, but it would sure be hilarious. So, anyways, we've got 7 minutes here, and I want to promote, first off, tomorrow night, Nick, on the radio show here on the Anti-Media, is going to have this huge debate that people have been talking about for days. Do you want to go ahead and spill the beans, Carrie, on our show tonight of who's going to be debating each other?
I could do that. Do I have Nick's approval?
Yeah, screw Nick.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, so the debate is going to be between an anarcho-communist and an anarcho-capitalist and someone sort of objectively in between. And on the left, we have someone named Micah David Naziri. He's unbelievably informed. I believe he has a PhD, studied history, might as well call him a historian. And on the right, we have the inimitable Larkin Rose. I don't know if you've heard of Larkin. He was the most dangerous situation.
That's one of his books.
Yeah,
That's the most
he
popular,
will blow your mind. He's awesome. I know him. He's a great guy and an unbelievably articulate speaker and thinker and writer. And in the middle, do we know who we have for the middle yet?
I don't think we were supposed to have somebody, but I think they fell through.
Okay,
so
I'll hold off
it
on
may just be
on
the
that.
two, but those two then and of themselves is a great main event.
Yeah. You don't want to miss it because maybe you're like, what's anarcho honk? Like, what are we talking about? Well, at Anti-Media, we're trying to come up with solutions, and I think we're all in agreement that letting the government handle it is not quite working.
Bingo.
Anarcho sounds very scary, but it's really not that scary. And if you watch or listen to the debate last night, you might leave with that conclusion. So I highly encourage you to check it out.
I highly
Excellent.
encourage you to check it out because it's going to be really entertaining and people are going to be yelling at each other.
Yeah, speaking of wrestling.
Right. There's going to be screaming. There's going to be yelling. There's going to be finger pointing. There's going to be swear words probably.
Likely.
It's going to be fantastic.
I love swear words.
You learn something, maybe you learn something, but you're going to get entertained, and that's what's important in 2017 America. It's all about getting entertained. Have you seen the movie Idiocracy? Well, we're there.
Yep.
We are.
And we are going to deliver you some electrolytes tomorrow night.
With this beer right here. We got some nice electrolytes right in there.
That's it. But look, that's the theater that we're living in now. We're living inside of a reality TV show. We have people sitting here. We didn't get into this too much. We've got 3 minutes, real quick. Amir, you have Iranian heritage in your family.
His whole family.
Whole
Okay.
family, yep, I'm purebred.
Now, you may agree, you may disagree. I don't know. Everybody says this is a Muslim band. I'm going to tell you why I don't believe in any way, shape, or form it's a Muslim band. It's a what would Saudi Arabia do band. Because if it was a Muslim band, there's a lot more countries that you could put on it. It's a Saudi Arabia doesn't like you band.
It's a limited Muslim ban. So when liberals come and try to ban one gun, conservatives call it a gun ban.
True.
That doesn't mean they're banning every single gun. That means they're trying to ban one gun. And they still refer to it as an absolute total ban.
But a gun didn't write the list of the other guns to ban. In this case, Muslims actually wrote the list of other places to ban.
Wait, hold on. Are we speaking from fact or are we speaking from Scott's wonderful
because those countries, the countries that they put
Saudi
on there,
Arabia runs the world and we know it.
The countries, I mean, I'd say DC runs the world and Saudi is just like one of their little kingdoms
But
that they told.
no, because what is the dollar?
It's the petrodollar, of course.
Right.
Of course. The Saudis run the show, but at the end of the day,
Right,
I think
the Saudis run the show.
I think the American empire is stronger than that, but I don't think that they're smarter than that.
Yeah.
To figure out ways outside of the petrodollar, because if I were running an empire,
Saudi
just
Arabia,
like every
okay,
dictator-
the biggest event in the history of the past 100 years, Saudi Arabia has its fingerprints all over, and we attacked their enemies over it.
Of course.
So I would say they're pretty smart. They've done something right in their evil heinousness.
They're evil fucking villains. Yeah,
Sure.
that's for sure. I mean, Wahhabism as a ideology, I've studied it, and it's like, because I've studied like different forms of Islam and different ideologies within Islam, and like Wahhabism is disgusting. It is what gives us ISIS. It's what gave us the Taliban, and that's what they practice. That's the government in Saudi Arabia. That's how everybody's lives are forced to be in Saudi Arabia. Like, you cannot drive a car if you are a woman. You don't have rights if you're a woman.
I think they're working on that one.
They're working on it.
Yeah,
but
major progress.
But,
Yeah,
the
well,
thing is, in Saudi Arabia, you can't, if you're a woman, you need to have a male chaperone to travel.
Oh yeah, it's still wildly oppressive.
So so what I call it with the Muslim ban, it's like it's a limited Muslim ban, and that it doesn't ban all Muslims, but like they didn't send all the Jews to concentration camps either, but it was a Holocaust against the Jews. You know?
Sure.
Like,
No, I agree with
you don't
that.
need to have every single. Here's the thing: you don't need to do every single Muslim for it to be a ban. As soon as there's
That's it
one
for us. I
person-
tell you what, that's it for us for tonight. Please make sure to stay tuned. Tomorrow night, the great debate will happen on Anti-Media Radio with Nick Burnaby. Thank you, Shannon, Terry, Amir, this is S.M. Gibson, Anti-Media Radio out.
I'ma let them know, no, through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.